Hey guys, Game Ross here. Welcome to another of my budget build guide. And in this video, I'm going to talk about my all-time favorite build in Path of Exile, Righteous Fire. And I really like this build because this is one of the tankiest build in Path of Exile. And with Righteous Fire, all you have to do is run towards the enemy and watch their life burn. And to begin this guide, I'm gonna talk about my unique items. First is this Sappho's Frame Shield, which will give me 4% to all maximum resistance. And I like this shield compared to Rise of the Phoenix because Rise of the Phoenix only gives you maximum resistance to fire. And this shield is a must-have for any Righteous Fire build because the more fire resistance you have, the less damage you take from the Righteous Fire. And next unique item is this Belly of the Beast, which gives me 39% increased maximum life and 14% to all elemental resistance. And lastly is this Wind Scream, which the only reason I'm using this because you can apply an additional curse, and in this build I'm using Flammability Curse and this Witch Fire Brew Flask, which will grant me level 21 Despair Curse. And that's all for the unique items that I'm using in this build. For the rare items, first I want to talk about my helmet. As you can see, it says here Sacred Gems are supported by level 20 Burning Damage and level 18 Concentrated Effect. And in this helmet where I'm using my Righteous Fire, so it's kind of like have a 6 link. And the only good thing about having these two explicit in your helmet is you can use increased area of effect as your 6 link, and you don't really have to have the both of this burning damage and concentrated effect in your helmet. You can just get one of each of the explicit, like this one. This helmet that only have the burning damage. So if this is your helmet, you only need to add this concentrated effect into your gem setup. So your Righteous Fire will do the same damage but lesser AoE. And also I want to talk about the base item of the helmet. To be honest, I made a mistake buying this helmet. As you can see, it's armor base type helmet, so it took me a lot of Jeweler's Orb turning all of these sockets into blue sockets. So if you want to keep into that 30 chaos budget, then you should buy a helmet with armor and energy shield, so it's easily so you can easily turn the sockets into blue sockets. And lastly, when I bought this helmet, it doesn't have that maximum life. I crafted that, and if you're gonna buy a helmet with burning damage and concentrated effect explicit, buy a crappy one just like this one. It doesn't have elemental resistance and maximum life, so it's gonna be cheap. And for the next rare I'm using is this Primal Skull Talisman. The only reason I'm using this one is because of the life regeneration. Next is this Topaz Ring, which I added the cold and lightning damage, so whenever I use my shield charge, it will proc the elemental equilibrium. For the weapon, try to get as much elemental damage and fire damage as well as some burning damage. And I crafted this 4% increased damage per endurance charges because with this build you gain lots of endurance charges. And for the rest of my rares, they're just basic life and resist. And for the flask, I'm using Witch Fire Brew Flask for increased damage over time and grants level 21 Despair Curse Aura. Sulfur Flask for increased damage, and Diamond Flask for increased critical chance, and I'm gonna tell you later why that's important. And lastly is this Ruby Flask. This flask basically is like a life flask, because it says here if you use the flask you will take less fire damage from the Righteous Fire. For the gem setups, I'm using Righteous Fire, Efficacy, Elemental Focus, and Increased Area of Effect. In my weapon I have Purity of Fire, Flammability, and Herald of Ash. On my gloves I have Scorching Ray, Spell Totem, Multiple Totem, and Burning Damage. In my body armor I have Vitality, Shield Charge with Fortify, Increased Critical Strike, and Faster Attacks. In my shield I have Holy Relic, Stone Golem, and Cast when damage is taken. And lastly, with my my boots I have Fireball, Combustion, Immortal Call, and Cast when damage is taken. And make sure this gem is in low level. For the Pantheon, I'm using Soul of Arakali and Soul of Abarath, so I will take less damage from the Righteous Fire. For my Ascendancy, I'm using Juggernaut, and I'm using Unbreakable for more life regeneration and reduced damage taken. Also, I'm using Unflinching for gaining those endurance charges, Unyielding for increased damage and area of effect for endurance, and lastly this Undeniable for 1000 accuracy, increased attack speed, and also it will increase my damage if I dealt critical strike. For the skill tree, try to get this Barbarism for the maximum fire resistance, also this Soul of Steel for additional maximum elemental resistance, and try to get those endurance charges as well, and those life regeneration nodes. And I also get this elemental equilibrium for so I can reduce the enemy's resistance, and this elemental overload, so whenever I crit I will do more elemental damage. So again, when you do a critical strike you will have 40% more elemental damage, and also with Undeniable it will increase 30% increased damage. So it's very important that you have this flask so you can easily deal a critical strike and improve your damage. And for the rest of your skill points, just try to get as much life and also some fire and burning damage. And for the jewels, I'm using this anatomical knowledge. I'm using 3 of them, and they're just for more increased maximum life. And that's it for this build guide. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next video.